Okay, guys, so now welcome to our final part here. Let's get into some motivation, right? I wanted to end this on a high note. If you're still with me, this has been a long video and I've truly poured so much into it. And I'm sure some of it you've heard before, but maybe it hits you in a different way. And maybe you've even heard some things that you've never heard before. Maybe you're even new to our channel and this video brought you in, welcome, and that's amazing. You can always go back and rewatch this video, take notes. I do highly recommend that. So moving into our motivation, number 91. The only thing getting in your way is your own imagination. And I really do believe that. I'm not just saying that. The reason I say that is there's other people, other businesses that are doing exactly what you want to do. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're also not special. This should be really good news. So, they say the magic formula is if you can believe it and you can conceive it. Actually, it's the other way. If you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. So conceive means, can somebody do this? Can you think of somebody doing this? Do you have evidence to prove that this can be done? If you have that, and then you add to it your own personal belief, you shift from thinking, oh, somebody else can do it, to, holy crap, I think I can actually do this, right? When you have both of those and you make that shift, then you move into achiever mode. Like you're able to actually accomplish and achieve the thing that you're desiring. So much of this space, so much of this industry is being in your own head. We put a number of limiting beliefs on ourselves. We limit ourselves because of our upbringing, because of what other people tell us or feed us. We put ourselves in a box and we just want to kick down those walls. If somebody else can do it, you can absolutely do it as well. They are not better than you in any way. They're not smarter than you. They're just not, okay? Some may bring more experience, they may bring more to the game, but honestly, I see that actually it works against a lot of folks because that's putting them in a little box. The more you are moldable, the more you are flexible. If your glass isn't full, like the whole Bruce Lee thing, in order for me to pour into you as a teacher, you have to empty your glass of what you think you know to put into it like what is, actually going to work. If your glass is full and you think you know it all, there's just nobody can tell you otherwise. I think we all know, like young kids and teenagers, right? You just can't tell them anything. They think they can conquer the world and they can do everything. And they haven't even begun to learn the lessons of life. So I've seen so many go from literally just getting their cage code, not knowing what they're going to do, to winning their first few contracts in a year or less, and then just taking their businesses to do whatever they want after that, because now they have the tools and the skill sets they need to make it what they want. I've seen it so many times in so many facets. And I've been fortunate enough to directly, at least in a small way, affect those for the better. I know that you can do it too. And I know that it can happen for you. Truly, the biggest thing you can do is to stop getting out of your own way. And if you feel like you are, that's probably time to do some internal dialogue work to figure out what that is so that you can remove those, because there's probably just some limiting beliefs from childhood, something like that, that are telling us that we're not good enough and that somebody else can do it, but we can't. And I'm here to tell you, forget that. You absolutely can. You have so much inside of you. And if nobody ever told you, you are good enough, you can absolutely do this thing. Okay, I promise you. I've seen so many with so little do so much. Number 92, just take the next step in front of you. You don't have to have the whole journey planned out. I know some of us are natural planners. I certainly am. And we want to have it all figured out before we do it so that we know every step of the way. That's not life. God plans, or man plans, God laughs. We can only take what's in front of us. And a lot of this means being more present. Thinking in the future causes anxiety. Thinking in the past causes depression. Being in the present means that you're accepting the present moment and you're at peace. And you're not telling it it's wrong or putting labels or judgments on it. So what is your present, right? What is the present thing for you to do? What is the natural thing for you to do? What is that next step? We can only take one step at a time, and we don't know where that next step is going to lead. We just have to try things. And maybe that next step doesn't work out the way that we think it will, or maybe it brings us into something that we never thought of and it's better than what we could have ever imagined. But all these steps have a reason, and they all support us. And hard work never goes unrewarded. Hard work is never wasted. It doesn't necessarily always pay off for us in the way that we think it will, but hard work will always pay off. It's like a rule of the universe. If you really put some hard work into something, it's going to help you, and it's going to help you in dividends. Maybe not in the exact thing, but just know that there's not the consequence of doing hard work. Hard work is good for us. We're meant to work hard. It's good for our soul. It's good for everything. So don't worry about the whole journey. Just worry about your next step. Number 93, the game is not rigged. It's not rigged. You can come into this space brand new, not having any relationships, not having responded to anything before, and just take what I'm telling you and start practicing and getting better and win. Yes, you absolutely can do that. Now, is there sometimes things that don't make sense? Yes, there is, unfortunately. We do not live in a perfect world. There is good, there is evil in this world, and nothing is immune from it. So there are things that happen that are, like I said, they just don't make sense, and they probably shouldn't. They do. But that does not define us. It does not define the world we live in. It does not define this game that we're playing of government contracting. The game is not rigged. There is absolutely opportunity. I see it all of the time. Like I said, folks, they just come in, they just heard about this thing, they just got their cage code, and in a few months, they're winning their first contract. And then their second, and then their third. The main thing that they have amongst those who are successful and they take that path, though, is they don't quit. They don't let this stuff get in their head. It's not failure, it's learning. You either win or you learn. And some of my recent students have reminded me of that, because that's how they've been taking it. They either win or they learn. It's a very empowering way to look at it. And I want to give that to you. You don't fail. You only fail when you quit. If you don't quit, you're going to keep learning, and eventually you're going to be winning. And maybe if you follow some of the things I've given you in this video, it'll just make it that much faster and speed up the process. Number 94, don't be jealous of bad business. Don't worry about other people's stories, or you heard this in the grapevine and it just brings something out of you that makes you super ugly, super jealous. Don't worry about it. There is such thing as a bad business. A lot of contracts are won with very little or no profit, or even at a negative. There is something to be said for what's called in the industry buying business, where you win a contract to make very little money, just to build your past performance, and then you can use that to roll over and win more profitable contracts, and you consider it an investment. That's fine. It's a little bit risky. You kind of got to know what you're doing to do that. So you kind of got to do that under a little bit of supervision, I would say, or somebody who knows what they're doing, so that you are pricing things accurately enough so that you're not losing money. But so many win a contract and they wish they could give it back. They wish they didn't have it. They have a nightmare contract, or they have a very unprofitable contract. So you don't want to be jealous of that. You'd rather be at peace having no business or having a break in between contracts than having something that is preventing you from sleeping at night. Don't wish that on your worst enemies. Many of us who have been in the space, all of us who have been in the space for long enough, we've all experienced bad contracts. You just don't want it. You don't want it. Some of the things I've given you here today will help to prevent it, but you can't prevent everything. Be diligent, communicate, just stay on the ball. But for example, if you're seeing somebody win a contract and you're like, I ran the numbers, there's just no way. Well, they're probably losing money on that contract. They probably priced it wrong. So don't be jealous of it. Feel sorry for them. Feel bad for them. You certainly don't need to feel bad or jealous about yourself, though. Number 95, think of using government contracting. Wait, am I skipping one? Yeah, 95, think of using government contracting as a vehicle to get to where you want to go. Your life does not have to be your business. I've had to learn this recently too. I put a lot into this, to making videos, to creating products that help people, and I'm very proud of what I've built. But there's been many times, many occasions where it feels like my business is my whole life, and even when I was working for the government contractor, many late nights and weekends, and it became unbalanced in my life. This should serve a purpose. Government contracting should not be something where you're just looking at a forever infinity vantage point. It should be serving a purpose, meaning I want to do this so that I can do this. I want to do this because it'll empower me to do that. It has to have its place, which means it has a start and an end point. That doesn't mean you have to stop doing government contracting. I'm not necessarily saying that, but it should have parameters. If you're doing this so that you can be your own boss, but then this becomes something that feels like a job more than any other job you've had, there's some spillage happening there. There needs to be some boundaries with it. Otherwise, it's not going to attain what you want it to attain, which means you do have to have clarity around what that is to begin with. And I find using it as a vehicle, thinking of this as just a place to get to where you want to go, comes with some of those built-in parameters, which I think might help some of you mentally. Because after a number of months, a number of years of just running on the treadmill, not having a defined, okay, we're just going to run at this pace, or we just want to have this many contracts. If you don't have that and you're starting out with zero, you feel like you just have to keep going, and you don't know when to self-manage, self-regulate. You don't know when the governors are going to kick in and say, we don't have to conquer the world here. We just have to do what's good enough for us, and truly understanding what that is, what's good enough for you, is going to help keep you in that healthy balance. And if you see this start spilling over to your family life and you're just on the road all the time, it's not going to be good. And you don't want that. You don't want to just win as much as possible at any cost. You want to win as much as possible within a certain parameter that you decide that's good for you. So I recommend considering to think of this thing as a vehicle that you have to further reach and attain your goals. It's something to be used. Don't let it use you. Number 96, with that being said though, I think we already said this, if you don't have revenue, this is just a hobby. There's not much more to say about that. If you're doing this for a couple of years and you're not making any money, you have to consider what you're doing. At the very least, you have to consider switching it up, because what you're doing isn't working. After a good year, a solid 12 months of doing this, playing the numbers game, you should have won at least one, if not several or maybe more contracts. Most of them are going to come in the later part of the year as well, with probably in the 6 to 12 month range, depending on the seasonality too. I'm not sure where the 6 to 12 months is going to fall for you, but when you get to the 6 to 12 months, you're going to be closer to that 10 to 20, 1 to 10. If you're doing a couple of solid quality bids per month, that's going to happen in the first half of your year. Second half of your year, you're going to be showing up a lot better, and that's just going to have the cause and effect of winning more, right? But at a certain point, this is a hobby until it becomes a business. So you just want to keep that in mind. Number 97, I do believe we've already covered this and another explanation, but in imposter syndrome, it's very real. I think I gave the real estate agent example of never having sold a house before, but then they have a broker, but are they still able to Sell the house even though they never sold a house? Yes, of course. Just because you haven't done it before doesn't mean you can't do it. And I know a lot of you all feel that way with government contracting. You haven't done your first deal yet, but does that mean you can't do your first deal? No, you have everything. You have everything you need to do it. And we just create resources here to help make that a shorter timeline for you. And there's lots of other resources online too, of course. There's lots of places to pull from. You just have to stick to something and do it. But imposter syndrome is real. Number 98, you do have to be careful, in my opinion. Many people that are in GovCon in a position of, I don't want to say power, but in a position of authority. They are out of touch with what really matters in this space. And not only that, sometimes advice is being given for maybe the seasoned government contractor, but then it's given to a brand new government contractor. What's good for somebody who's brand new in this space, never won a contract, what's good for them is not necessarily what's good for a seasoned contractor, or not necessarily appropriate for a seasoned contractor, or what's appropriate and right for a seasoned contractor is not necessarily what a brand new GovCon should be doing. So I'm not seeing enough distinction in the space, which is why some people would say, Derek, what are you talking about? Like all these, these shiny objects, it's almost like you talk down on them. It's like, no, I don't talk down on any of the things. Conferences, set-asides, GSA schedules, right? I don't say that they're bad. I say that the timing is bad. And if they're being pushed on you when it's not what's in your own best interest at the time, that is bad. The thing isn't bad. It can be a great supplement for you at the right time. There's a reason why it works for some, doesn't work for others. Because for some, it's the right time. For others, it's the wrong time. And if you're brand new and you've only won like less than 5 contracts or no contracts, again, you have to stick on what's most important. So if you're listening to folks that are giving advice that is out of touch, they may be out of touch. Look into their background. How many contracts have they won? Many have won 0 to my disappointment. Many do not have a background of government contracting, because what would that even be if they didn't have their own business before the position that they're in now? Instead, what we have are a lot of folks that are out of touch because they're just kind of repeating the dogma in the space, and they haven't actually done it themselves. And the dogma is very much geared towards folks who have been in the space for a while. So it's not the right advice for the new GovCon, and that's being repeated to new GovCons because everybody in the space is exactly the same and should get exactly the same advice. No. You newbies, you are different. You need to be protected, you need to be incubated, and you need to be hyper-focused. From there, you can grow, okay? You don't need to be doing all the things that somebody more advanced is doing. You need to put the blinders on, and that's what these people should be telling you, but they're not. Why? Because they don't know, because they're out of touch. Why? Because they haven't done it, so that they don't know. That's why these things, again, work for some and they don't work for others. Very often the others are folks that are brand new. So have a filter or a lens that sifts out what you're allowing into your mind. The mental game is challenging enough. Number 99. This one's pretty straightforward. Don't set goals, set activities. If you set a goal, you're going to be fixated on the outcome, and you're not going to be focused enough on how you're going to get there. And then as a result, you're not going to attain your goal, and you're just going to suffer a lot and drive yourself crazy. Like, I'm still not on my goal, Like you're attracting kind of that negative energy almost into your manifestation of how you're running your business. If you want to be a winner, act like a winner. Winners do winning things. Okay, so what are winning things? These are winning activities. What are winning activities? They're revenue generating activities. We keep coming back to it. No matter where you start, all roads end at the main thing here. So if you can set activities that you're going to focus on, And that we know, like through like the law of energy, like I don't know, it's not the law of conservation of energy, but it's energy acted upon something else is going to cause another reaction. I totally botched that. If we have somebody who knows the law, please put that down in the comments so we can all benefit from it, right? But when acted upon another force, that force cannot be less than, it has to be equal to or greater, something like that, right? You just think of the pendulum, ding, 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 ding. You let the one ball go and that force is acted upon, then it keeps going, right? So if we set activities in motion, is what I'm trying to say, there is going to be, an equal or opposite reaction, something like that. So then we're like, okay, we do this, that happens. We do this, that happens. So what are the things that we can do where things happen that we want to happen? And that we just do that. Like if we can be in that mindset of focusing on the right activities as opposed to fixated, I haven't won a contract yet, I haven't won a contract yet. It's like if you're busy bidding, talking to subs, writing proposals, you don't have time. You don't have time for that. And you're actually acting like a winner. And then you're gonna have results and consequences of things that those people who act like winners have, which are wins. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to hit this from many different examples. Hopefully, I know that I usually sound crazy sometimes, but hopefully it's on a level that's making sense. Number 100, I made it. 3 pages, number of videos, 7 parts. Bear with me on this. You've heard this before, but I've saved the best for last. And I'm going to back into what it is. The only reason, or the main reason by far, that I was able to win 32 contracts worth $50 million by my 30th birthday, the reason why that was because if I didn't in some way make this work, the consequence of not doing it was too difficult for me to mentally bear the thought of. So that meant everything else is getting moved over. This thing is my vehicle and we're making this happen. Like, so help me God, we're making this happen. There's literally nothing more important at this time of my life than this. And it was because, for those of you who know my story, I won't go into the full thing, but essentially, I grew up as a kid wanting to do everything right, very financially focused, reading, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is what I grew up on. Really big into Tony Robbins, the giant within, shout out to the giant within. Went to college, was, the only person at the time in my family to even go to college. So it was just new. I just kind of had to pave my own way. Wanted to go for finance, right? Got my bachelor's degree at that time was 2008, 2009, right? Rough time in our economy. So stayed in college, got my MBA, international business. I worked throughout, but I still had like $60,000 worth in debt, student loans. So I was like in a really uncomfortable place in terms of that. But, I hoped that it would pay off. So as soon as I graduated, I moved to Chicago from Michigan, worked John Hancock retirement plans. Seemed like a good gig, but within a month of being there, they closed, And so I'm like, what? This isn't how it's supposed to go. So I lost that job, came back to Michigan, and then I had all these odds and ends jobs that they just didn't work out. Then I started having panic attacks. I was hospitalized at one point from it. It was really bad. And it just kept going lower and lower and lower until I found myself being like 26 years old, still living at my parents' house, driving down a broken down red Pontiac 1999 Sunfire, where it had been in 2 accidents. So the trunk wouldn't even open because it was dented in and the gas cap was rusted off. So I had this vision when I was a teenager of who I would be like 10 years later. after like doing everything I was supposed to do. And then my reality was that I was in massive debt. I was living at my parents. I felt like a loser. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. I didn't have anything. And you know, I had, my last straw was to open up a pizza business, and I did that for a year. I lost like 10 grand in that, which was the rest of my savings. So I literally had nothing. I was broke, and it was the lowest part of my life. And then I got this government contracting job after, you know, being hospitalized. You know, I had sold insurance for State Farm and just, you know, a number of things. I managed a jewelry store, just crazy odds and ends jobs, right? Nothing worked out. And then my first week working for the government contractor, my boss wanted to fire me. She put me on the Oasis contract, which is a newer GWAC at the time. And like, I had never written a government proposal before. And she put me as like a lead on it. I had more of like the sales type background. And so I was kind of just like the fall guy on it. But then my recruiter, he actually saved me. And I went under his wing, started learning some stuff. I won my first road salt contract, circled back to proposal writing from there, you know, re-earned my spot, and then I went up. But I was in such a dark spot. And so what this final lesson was I had such a strong why. I had such a strong desire. And I almost hate saying that way because we hear it so often. But it was the irrefutable truth. Like, I was getting into a very deep depression, and my anxiety was going crazy. My mental health was extremely suffering, and I didn't know how many more failed jobs I was going to make it through, you know. But you can't quit. You have to keep going. And so I had just decided, you know, I have to make this work. I have to use this as a vehicle. It's not that I love government contracting so much. When I took the job, I didn't even know what it was. You know, my whole first year, I wasn't even able to explain my job to my friends. I just said, oh, I know it's something with the government, so that's kind of cool. You know, that was the punchline. So, but I made it work, you know, and I climbed the ropes. I ended up being the top, you know, BD person. I was the VP of business development after a while, became my boss's right-hand man, and traveled all around the country, managing projects and winning contracts until, you know, I reached the point to where I had outgrown the place and it didn't make sense for me to stay there any longer. But I paid off all my student loans. I was able to put some money in the bank and kind of like buy my freedom. And that was the beginning of the next, you know, challenge of what would be in my life before I started GovKidMethod. You know, that was all what preceded it. But none of that would happen if I was not in that place where I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I needed to get this thing off of me. I absolutely had to. You know, I was driving more than an hour one way to work in this car that I didn't even know was going to make it, and it was in Michigan, so sometimes it was 2.5 hours in the winter. It was a really rough couple years before I kind of got things going, winning contracts, and I was like, oh wow, like I actually started making something of this. You know what I'm saying? So what is it for you? That's the point. Why should government contracting be the vehicle for you? And is that why strong enough? Is it strong enough to get over the temporary setbacks? Is it strong enough to keep you going even when there's challenges? Because man, nothing bothers me more than to work with somebody or see somebody come into the space for 3 months, submit a couple bids and to not win, and then to just say, oh, the game is just rigged, or hey, you can't have enough profit in these contracts because, you know, I've just lost the last 5 that I've submitted. But we already said your first 5 are going to suck. You know, they didn't even reach the point of getting up to 10 so that they can learn from their lessons and start to dial in the strategy. They just quit, you know, and I just don't have a lot of empathy for quitters because they're just going to jump. They're hoppers. They're just going to jump to the next thing and quit, and jump to the next thing and quit. It's like, well, they're not really having a strong enough reason to do this. It's just a would be nice. If you need to make this work, you will. And you don't need to listen to me. You don't need to be on YouTube University or listen to anybody. Like you'll figure it out. If it's bad enough, you will just figure it out. Like I did. Like I didn't have any training. I didn't have any support. I had to figure all this stuff out on my own. You know, the mentor who was working with me, he was all in recruiting. He was a recruiter, so he could help with recruiting. But in terms of like the GovCon stuff, it was just like, what? What does that acronym mean? What is this 100-page document? You know, like, why am I responding to the source of sauce thing? What's a capability statement? You know, why am I going to this conference? Like, I had to figure all this stuff out. Like, every one of these lessons is a lesson learned personally by me that I'm sharing with you. And I know it's too many for you to go and act on, but hopefully there's a few of these that maybe you've taken notes on and you've taken to heart and that you're gonna stick to, because you don't need all 100 of them, and you can come back. You know, this is over 10 years, okay? More than likely you're at your first year or your second year, or you're brand new. So pick from this, you know, maybe like the offer stuff, the strategy stuff, the getting started stuff, and then pull from these as you need them. I truly hope that is helpful. And I just have so much belief in you. If you don't believe in yourself, if you feel like an imposter, I believe in you. If nobody's, you know, if you're not in an empowering environment, I'm telling you, you can do it. I've seen it so many times. I wish I could give you my beliefs, because I've seen it. And, you know, being able to have this channel, you know, every week I'm hearing people winning their first contract or the second contract, or they've gone through our course or our book or whatever, and they're telling me how it's helped them. So I just know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if you just get out of your own way and you just focus and you do it, the results will come. Like, and if you can use this as a vehicle, if you can get behind that mindset, it will take you places. But if you have things that are holding you back, or if you just don't have a strong enough why, a strong enough reason, and it's almost kind of like a lazy approach, like, oh, I did a little bit and, you know, the world didn't just come to me. No, you have to be a go-getter. You have to go out there and get it. If you do, you'll learn things that aren't even on this list. And that's what I would like to invite you to as we come to the end of this series. What have you learned? What lessons have been helpful for you that can help others in the comments? I would like to hear from as many of you who are willing, even if you just have one lesson learned to add to our list here. I think this video could be an amazing resource for as much as I've put into it. And now is an opportunity for you to contribute to it. Or if there's something that I said that you were just like, he's so right about that, and you just want to underline that, you put that in the comment. Like, you know, this lesson really, really reached out to me, or I know this lesson is so true. Or again, if there's something additional that you've learned in your journey, that's not coming from a cynical place. It should be coming from a productive learning type thing. I don't want any cynicism here, because that doesn't help anybody. Like saying the game is rigged is not a lesson learned. That's just you being a quitter, right? That's not helpful. So keep it helpful. And again, I didn't have it earlier, but check out the book if you want to learn more. It's 200 pages. I wrote it. I'm so proud of it. It's helped so many people already this year. And like I said, we're getting so much positive feedback. I know that if you get it, you will not be disappointed. It's $30. It's probably always going to be $30. I don't anticipate changing the price on it, so I try to make it affordable so that everybody can get it. And yeah, I think that's it. Oh yeah, and also I'll have a link down for the free masterclass if you want to keep learning as well. If you like the stuff from this video, we'll have that down. It's totally free. It's another great training to get you into this, learning more, make it more real for you. Start to, you know, shift your beliefs that you can really do this. So hope you enjoyed this series. It's been a lot of fun making it. It was a lot of fun putting this list together. Hit the like button if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you guys in some more videos down the road. All right? Or maybe I'll be shipping the book out to you sometime soon, because I actually ship all of these personally. I don't drop ship them. I've got boxes in my garage, and we make them nice. We do them all individually so that everybody's taken care of that way. So maybe I'll have an opportunity to ship a book out to you as well. We'll see you guys soon, and take care.